wherever you are. Sundays 9 to 10 a.m. only on Radio Al Ansar.
Boom, 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 boom. A little boy went the first day at school. He got some crayons and he started to draw. He put colors all over the paper, for colors was what he saw. The teacher said, "What you doing, young man?"
"I'm painting flowers, see?"
"Well, this is not the time for art, young man. And anyway, flowers are green and red. There's a time for everything, young man. A way things should be done. You got to show concern for everyone else. You're not the only one." And she said, "Flowers are red. Green leaves are green. There's no need to see flowers any other way than the way they always have."
Hey, 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 it's Sunday, and that means it's Green Thumbs Up Day. Ahlan wa sahlan, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Green Thumbs Up. I'm your host, as you know, Rabia Carvalho, and I'm with you every Sunday, 9 to 10 on Green Thumbs Up. We are that gardening and natural living show you didn't know you needed. The one where everyone's an expert and nobody has all the answers. But today, we have someone who has all the answers on a certain specific thing. So get your pens and paper ready, folks, because I know you love to take notes. And remember our WhatsApp line, 060 904 1056, and our phone line, if you'd like to phone in and talk to our expert this morning, 0861 904 904. Assalamu alaikum. Let's get started right into today's show, which is the Hydroponics Show. Our sound engineer this morning, Assalamu alaikum, Asfili. How are you? Alhamdulillah. He doesn't have his microphone on. Come on now. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, there we go. The silky velvet voice of Asfat Fili on a Sunday morning.
Oh, please. It's too early for that.
It's too early for that. So, folks, today we are talking about, how was your week, Asfat?
Actually, shukr alhamdulillah, it was very good.
Alhamdulillah.
And yours?
It was awesome, as always. Subhanallah. Yes. So, for all of you out there, I must just let you know before we get stuck into the show, there is a level 4 warning, folks. Level 4. Yes, yes, yes. City disaster and emergency teams are on standby for the level 4 weather warning. She's coming. Moren is coming. It has sustained winds of up to 100 kilometers per hour, gusting to 120 kilometers an hour. There's quite a lot of areas that have been affected. So, folks, please stay safe. The warning is going to cover eThekwini areas, including the CBD, Berea, Glenmore, Asfa, and Glenmore, Morningside, Umbili, Chatsworth, Pinetown, Queensburg, Amazon, Toti, and Umhlazi. Umhlazi, is that right? Yes, Umhlazi. So that's what we have for you today with a weather warning of winds. Folks, if you have those plants in pots, get them indoors, get them under cover, get them somewhere, cover them up at least. If you've got fruit trees, throw some hessian over it. If you are listening to us on radio, you are on FM, then you will be listening to us in Durban and Pietermaritzburg. But you could catch us on Facebook and YouTube. That's Radio Al Ansar. Head on over because we have our guest in studio this morning, and his name is Harry Perfors. Now, Harry has been doing hydroponics, which kind of bloomed out of the planordemics. So the planordemics came along, and Harry, who is originally from Joburg and moved to KwaZulu-Natal, started to look into hydroponics growing. And we're going to talk all about it because he has a system that works. He's going to take us through the various systems. He's going to talk to us about nutrients. And yes, it is no soil farming. So he's actually got a strawberry plant with him that you're going to want to see, because never but never have I seen a strawberry plant with such massive leaves. And I do want to do a show on giant vegetable gardening as soon as our correspondent in Alaska will actually answer and give us a date. Won't that be wonderful? Talking about giant veg. Yes, yes. But today it's not giant veg. It's just this giant strawberry from Harry. And Harry is here with us in studio this morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good. Thanks yourself.
Good. Thank you. Thanks so much for making the time and coming out to the show this morning. Now, tell us a little bit about your journey in hydroponics and how you began in it.
Yeah, as we were chatting just now, I started with cannabis growing, but little
Okay.
did I know that the medium that I got from the guy that I got the stuff from was nutrient-free medium.
Okay.
So for about 2 months or so, the plants weren't doing anything. I was asking questions, and they were just dying off. And
Okay.
through my research, and it was kind of like a last-ditch effort, I found actually the company that I own now.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you know what, let me just try some nutrients, and within a week or two, plants had doubled. And it's from then it's just a progression to where I am now.
Yes, and it's vegetables that you're doing. Let's just be
Now
clear.
it's vegetables only.
It's actual tomato plants, not tomato with spice.
Yeah, tomatoes with no fruit. Yeah.
No fruit. So, folks, let's just take you through to the listener at home. If you know about hydroponics, then that's great. But a lot of people don't know what on earth. What is she talking about? Now, what is this what's hydroponics? Is the art of growing no soil. So you do have a substrate, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But it basically has its roots in ancient Babylon, the hanging gardens of Babylon, where they used those aqueducts, right, to actually water plants. But then in the 17th century, scientists began to explore plant nutrition. And then Sir Francis Bacon, in good old 1627, decided that he's going to document the growth of plants in water. And then a few years later, 1930s, it started to gain scientific recognition. So you've got researchers, if this means anything to you, like Dr. William Frederick Gericka of the University of California experimented with growing tomatoes in nutrient solutions. And we know that California is big on growing CBD plants, so cannabis CBD, for medical purposes. But then in the mid-20th century, it actually began to evolve as a viable agricultural method. And during World War II, the US military experimented to grow food on ships. So imagine that. Then, of course, from there, it just took off. And as people move to the city and there's, need for local food, it really, really works. It is a system that works for growing food, vegetables, plants. What else could you grow? Could you grow fruit trees hydroponically? I would imagine not, though, because they're too big.
Yeah, just based on
size.
The logistics of it.
Yes.
You probably could if you really invested a lot of time and money into it. But yeah, I don't know if that's something that I would want to try.
The best trees might be bonsai, maybe. Those little ones you could do.
Probably.
Keep them. Yeah. But let's talk about, so you started off with hydroponics. You for growing of cannabis for CBD, you had said to me, and then you kind of thought, well, let's throw some veg in and see what happens.
Yeah, from that, through the process of learning about it, I then came across all the different methods. So you've got hydroponics, you've got aquaponics, and you've got aeroponics.
Oh.
Yeah, so aeroponics is basically just the hydroponic or water sprayed through mist. So it's so that's what you would use for your root plants, carrots and potatoes. Aquaponics is got to do with fish, and that's a complete different story. And
I've seen that. That's really interesting because they have the fish, and the fish kind of are using up oxygen, but then they are releasing,
Yeah, then pump through the system. But that's. I've met one or two people that have had systems like that, and one small change and the whole system just doesn't work. It can work very well if it's set up properly.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not nearly as maintenance free or low maintenance as hydroponics.
Now, when we talk about hydroponics, we are talking about growing with water, with no soil, but that does not mean that the plants are just floating in water. There is still a substrate, right?
Depending on the system you use, yes. Okay. So you've got, for example, like your deep water culture system, that's just your plants float, your roots. So depending on the way that you put it together, your roots would just literally be in. So for example, like the roots would just be in the water if you had it, the
Okay.
plant on top. Yeah, so the roots is only in water. You have to have a balance of oxygen and water, otherwise you drown the plant. So that's the one method.
That's absolutely no soil, just water.
That's
wow.
100% water. Your nutrient flow technique, like I showed you, the gutter system, that's only water as well.
Okay.
Again, you need a support system for the plant. You've got the Kratky method, which is very similar to the deep water culture, and you've got flood and drain as well.
Yes.
Again, very similar to the deep water culture, but it's just you giving so what you do is you'd empty the container completely so that the roots then have chance to get oxygen, and then you flood it again depending on the time cycle. But you can get very technical with it. I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. And then obviously you've got the tower system, which is then a mixture of again, no soil that is needed or no medium.
That's an interesting one that I've actually seen the towers. If I was looking at social media and I saw these guys harvesting cabbage and cauliflower and broccoli, like full size from these towers, and there's so many of them growing on one tower. It's really good for limited space.
Yeah, definitely for your tower systems are good from what I've seen for like you say, limited space. Oops. Depending on the system or depending on what you want to grow, actually depends on the system you choose. I've noticed certain limitations. So for example, so my business, I specialize in the domestic, what I call the domestic unit and commercial unit, but it's just the gravel flow technique, which is the nutrient flow technique, but we just use gravel as not so much medium in the sense of medium, but just to help support the plants.
Yes.
So that's my system, which is what I've seen or what I've come across as the most versatile. Okay. So when you look at your gutter system, you're limited to what you can grow. For example, like celery, your bigger fruit plants, peppers, eggplant, those kind of things, because they get too big for the system. So you can only grow like lettuce. Same thing comes with the tower system, is you can grow your strawberries, you can grow your lettuce. Now, for sake of not believing everything that's on social media, I don't know how true some of those systems are. They could just put the plants in and make a video and say, here's the thing to sell it. I don't know. Because I've played around with a few things, and some has worked, some hasn't.
Okay.
But yeah, for size, yes, the tower system is great. I find it very limiting because I made a small one for myself, just based on the support that you can actually give the plant, because the plant starts falling out, and then it doesn't become like a maintenance, an easily maintainable system, if I can put it that way.
For those of you at home who are wondering, what the tower system is, imagine a tower, an upright column, and in that column there are holes all around the outside, and the plants are growing from there. There's a message come in from Saida, and she sent us a little picture. It says, if a plant is sad, do other plants photosynthesize with it? I don't know. Maybe they do. Just checking our messages. They do come in during the show, folks. So, you're talking about the tower and you're talking about these systems, and it's sometimes difficult for the person at home to actually kind of conceptualize or have an idea in their mind of what we're talking about by a system of growing hydroponically. So you're talking about the tower. Imagine an upright column with the holes on the outside, and the plants are growing from those holes. When you're talking about did you call it a flatbed? What was the system you spoke about on a like a trestle table?
On the tables. That's just the table system that I make.
So that's a table system.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the nutrient flow technique.
Right.
But the previous owner of the business just uses we use 9.5 mil concrete stone.
Okay.
Just to obviously hold it down, keep the plants down. So that's.
Because you made an interesting comment, with plants needing to be supported. The plants needing to be supported. And so you're limited by the size of the plants. Is that for all hydroponics types growing, or is that mostly for the water? Because surely you could still stake it if it's in gravel.
Yeah, of course you could.
Okay.
It just depends on the type of plant. So you need to look at what it is you're growing. So for example, if you take celery, for example, grows well on the table, the roots, once the root system is established and it basically like grows through the stone and stuff, then it just supports itself and it keeps on growing. Now, if you had to try and grow that, which I've done in the gutter system, it grows through the plastic and it'll break it because it has to grow. It keeps on growing. And so that's where so from that limitation is where you decide what you're growing. So for example, the tower system, celery wouldn't work that well.
Okay.
Based on that aspect, because if you look at the plant now, it starts growing. It's like, say, 200-300 mil away from the root system. It'll be too heavy and it'll fall out. So now you've got to make support system. So not to say that it can't work, but it's more work than what it's worth actually in the end of the day. Yeah.
So you're wanting things that are relatively low growing, ideally. So,
depending on the system that you are able to set up based on available space, funds that you want to put into it, invest into it, should I say, those kind of things. Your location of how many hours of sunlight are you able to provide the plant?
Yes.
That's a very key aspect that I've learned as well.
How much sunlight?
So
ideally you want it outdoors?
Outdoors. Otherwise, if you're growing indoors, you'd obviously need growing lights. But then I haven't done anything hydroponically indoors.
We've got a question here from Fatima Effendi. Is this hydroponics? Yes, it is. We are talking hydroponics this morning, all things hydroponic. And we have a message also from MH Osman. Assalamu alaikum. Plants communicate with one another. Yes, they do. And in fact, it was an interesting program I saw that spoke about mushroom myceliums, that is the network structure that goes underground, being the conduit for such plant communication. It's fascinating.
Very much so.
So just to show you now, so Fatima Effendi has sent us a picture. She's asking, is this hydroponics? What she's showing us actually is propagation. It's an avo in water. When you propagate them in water, it is hydroponics.
You are starting it off hydroponically if you want to get technical about it, yes.
Yeah, if you want to get technical. I do that with my pineapples as well.
That's
fine.
Fine.
Take the head off your pineapple, peel off some of those segments at the bottom and put them in water. But
so that's, sorry to interrupt,
yes.
That's actually a good a segment on can you change them? Can you go from hydroponics to soil and vice versa?
Yes.
And absolutely you can. Just understand that the plant will take a while to adapt.
Okay, so you could actually go to the nursery and buy some seedlings and put them into hydroponics.
Yeah, I'm lazy, so I'll buy the seedlings and I put them straight on the table.
Oh, wow. Well, on that note, folks, can you believe it is already 9:30 and it is time for us to take a few ads. So please don't go away. We're talking hydroponics. Go ahead and message us. You know our WhatsApp number by now. If you don't know the WhatsApp number, 060-904-1056. WhatsApp us there right after the ad break. We'll be back after this.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
This hadith is sponsored by Ashraful Aid, International Humanitarian Organization.
حديث a day. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وابكي على خطيئتك. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, cry over your sins. Crying over our sins means that we should regret over the wrongs that we have committed. Sins destroy a person in this world and the year after. Stay away from all sins.
This hadith is sponsored by Ashraful Aid, International Humanitarian Organization.
Are you looking for a meaningful way to fulfill your zakat obligation? Look no further than Ashraful Aid. With our trusted track record, your zakat reaches those who need it the most in the most honorable and dignified manner. Visit our website at www.ashrafulaid.org.
Sunnah a Day, proudly brought to you by Sunpick, 100% pure sunflower cooking oil. Sunpick, cook more with less.
Sunnah a day. Always keep a smiling face.
Sunnah a Day, proudly brought to you by Sunpick, 100% pure sunflower cooking oil. Sunpick, Cook more with less.
Imagine this. You're putting together a 7-color meal, from the creamy pasta to the glazed carrots and flavorful onion gravy. This entire meal is made with our 100% pure extra virgin olive oil from our La Familia range, bringing outstanding quality and taste to your kitchen. Shop La Familia 100% pure extra virgin olive oil at any leading supermarkets near you. La Familia, heart of the home.
Come get our butcher's best for less at Checkers Foods Cowie Park. Enjoy certified halal butchery products like Championship Boerewors thin, just $98.99 per kg. All beef roast, just $99.99 per kilo. And tenderized beef steak, just $89.99 per kg. Deals valid until Tuesday, November 19th. Only at Checkers Foods Cowie Park. Now certified by the NIHT, the National Independent Halal Trust, across our butchery, bakery, and deli.
We'd love to meet you. Pay us a visit. Radio Al-Ansar.
Are back with Green Thumbs Up, that gardening and natural living show you didn't know you needed. We're talking all about hydroponics, growing without soil. And with us today is Harry Perfors, who's taking us through the entire process. We've spoken kind of here and there, touched on history, touched on, a few different systems, but let's look at it this way. Now, here's somebody who decides, I'd like to try to grow hydroponically. Where do I start? What do I do?
So you'd have to look at what it is you want to grow and why. You've also got to look at the time that you can invest in it in terms of learning, and you've got to be patient with it as well, with the actual process as well as with yourself. It's there were times where I got frustrated where it's like I don't know what it's doing, but you learn, and then you find out through the process what actually works, what doesn't work. So to give an example, so we touched a bit on how I started. So the systems that I went through, and probably the easiest is I used coffee jars, the Dow Egberts coffee jars. I 3D printed a net cup for myself, and I put the plant in.
Cup.
Yeah, it's called a net cup. It's just a plastic cup for the to hold the plant.
Yes.
And then in that you would have your medium, either those clay lacquer balls or the peat moss or cocoa. Again, I'm lazy. I took the seedling. I with the soil and everything. I shoved it in there, and I've just made sure that the soil stayed wet so that the roots could start growing. Once the root starts growing, then you start managing your water and oxygen ratio, like I mentioned earlier, and then you add in your nutrients.
So you talk about managing water and oxygen ratio. How do you do that?
Just visually. So
you just look at it and you just make sure that there is some space in there.
That's it, yeah. You just make sure, compared to the amount of roots that you've got, that obviously the roots have to be at least halfway submerged in water, and then the rest can be oxygen. And I mean, if you look at it, it's a living thing. It'll tell you what it wants. Like the strawberry, it's happy.
I'd like you to show the strawberry on our camera, if you don't mind.
On here.
That camera over
cool,
there.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Because it's actually got massive leaves. Not only that, but when I look at strawberry plants, the stems are normally quite low and quite flat lying. These are upright and happy and really large leaves. I mean, I have small hands, but it still would be a big leaf. And those are about the size of my hand. They're beautiful.
They quite decent. It could also be the variation of plant.
And they are fruiting.
At the moment, yeah. Surprisingly, because I let them, as I showed you earlier, I've let them run to make multiple plants. That was one of 3 or 4, I think, and I think I've got 10 now.
Yeah. Could you just move the pot sideways? I'd love the viewer to see the roots, because it actually looks like a little bit of Hessian fabric sitting on the tray, but so that is not fabric. That is actually the roots of the plant.
Come through. Yeah, I'll be honest, when I wasn't expecting that when I took it out the table, but I brought it on just to showcase one of the systems, which is a wick system, but we went.
Okay, so just to take a question, Yusuf has messaged. He says, I tuned in late. Faux pas. Briefly, can you repeat what is hydroponics about regards to growing plants? So hydroponics is a way of growing plants without using the soil. So you can use a combination of peat and coca coir, you said?
And
Or
perlite
you
and
could
vermiculite as well.
perlite, vermiculite,
It's
kind of,
basically nutrient-free medium.
yes,
That's it,
nutrient-free.
yeah.
And the vermiculite and perlite is to aerate, I would imagine.
It also it helps aerate as well as retain moisture if you don't have constant water supply.
Yes.
So like if you've got a pot that's just freestanding
Right.
that you top up with your nutrient medium,
Okay.
nutrient water.
So, and then we said, another person is saying, can you WhatsApp me a picture of the strawberry plant? We'll do that for you.
So I'll actually see if I've got a picture of what's on my table, which that's
In fact,
quite amazing.
What we'll do, Harry and I spoke earlier, and what we'll do is we'll actually go over and do a video of your system and put it onto our social media so that you can have a look and see what hydroponics is. So it's growing in water. You can grow purely in water, or with a little bit of gravel to support the plants, was what Harry said, or you could use this soil-free medium. And you were taking us through somebody who's just started out, and they've got the plant, they've put in that peat and coca coir mix and vermiculite.
So starting off, the way that I started off was a bit backwards to what I'm suggesting. So, but again, through learning, I would say the lowest barrier to entry would be, and it's also a very low investment. So it would be, you can get a coffee jar, you can get a net cup, put that in, and monitor it and let the plant grow. Put it on your windowsill where you've got 6 hours. You will get algae because there's light that comes in. So algae breeds when there's heat and light. So that will happen. Be prepared for that. I was just too lazy to cover the glass with something. You can cover it.
We every time you say I was just too lazy, that's what Philly has a giggle. Listen, gardeners like to take shortcuts. We have to, because life's really short. The question that has come in, and I think we spoke about this to an extent already, can apples and pears be grown through hydroponic farming? Considering the size of the trees, you would need a really expensive system, because think about the fact that the roots have to be inside the hydroponic system.
I mean, if you look at a
big.
tree, I mean, geez, you'd probably need a couple 1,000-liter container. I mean, I don't know, probably the size of a room. I don't know.
Yeah, unless of course you're going to be keeping them small, the same as we grow fruit trees in pots.
You could definitely. That could most definitely be a way. But again, to keep the tree small, aside from pruning it, you'd have to then trim the roots as well. And then now you've got to take the plant out.
You're growing a bonsai. Yes.
But between a bonsai and a full-size tree.
Somewhere between the two. So now you've got the system, you've put you've got talk us through the nutrients that you've got there, because I know that you supply nutrients and you can get nutrients at the nurseries and all the rest of it. But what nutrients are we looking at for plants? Because with our garden soil, there's so many different nutrients, and we always kind of, do we get this, do we get that? But I see you get predominantly like 2.
So this is what I supply my customers, and I get it from my supplier. I repackage it into 1 kilogram bags, and for sake of not getting too technical, because keeping it simple, because as soon as you start going too in depth, and I noticed this with myself as well. I've seen some of the hydroponics, you've got 4 or 5 different bottles of liquid that you got to, or whatever it is, hydroponic solutions that you've now got to use at different stages. And cannabis taught me that as well. Now you're starting it in this season at this stage of the plant, and to be honest, I don't know what stage the plant is in. So how do I know what to feed and when?
Right.
So I keep things as simple as possible. So with this specific nutrient solution is 1 gram of each in a liter of water, and I'm done. That's it. That's what I do. I don't measure. I can, like, if I really wanted to get technical, I could. But one of the questions that you posed to me earlier was, how do you know if you're getting nutrient burn? The plant will tell you. It'll look like sunspots on the plant. I've had it before.
Then too much nutrients.
And then you dial it down. You just leave the solution for 1 week. You dilute it, and then the plant will fix itself. You trim those leaves off. Nature's an amazing thing. You'll be very surprised at how not only will it tell you what it wants, if you understand it to a degree, but how it fixes itself.
Yes.
It's just fascinating. I mean, I've
Yes.
had with the hydroponics, you've obviously got the thing of if you've got nutrient flow technique or you've got electricity requirements, you've got load shedding. Or you switch the tables off at night and wake up late. The plants have been wilting because they're starting to run dry. They're not getting water. I switch the table on, and an hour later, it's like nothing happened.
They just recover.
It's
Wow.
very you could argue stressing the plant. I haven't had an issue, and it all tastes the same.
Wonderful.
So
Yeah.
no
A
issues.
question that came in is the seedling. I think we addressed this, but let's go over it again. Is the seedling first grown in soil and then transferred to water?
You can, yes. So for various reasons, you might not want to grow from seed because it adds another 2 weeks or a month to the thing. But let's say right now you go to the nursery, you buy yourself a 6-pack or whatever size they come in of seedlings. You can take that and put it into whatever system you've got.
Now, we have spoken a little bit about the systems for hydroponics. For the listener at home, we spoke about the tower if you came in late, growing it upright, and then growing it flat, growing it in a gutter system.
Yeah, so it's 110 mil PVC gutter, or you can go bigger.
Okay.
You just put it sideways on the wall and drill holes in the top. So that is a
way
very viable method. Yeah.
So if you had a really nice sunny wall, you could install gutters all the way up that wall and grow an entire little herb garden over there.
You could most definitely. Keep in mind, depending on how hot the wall gets, you could be radiating heat and then stressing the plant. So, for example, like parsley will do a bit better in more shady areas. Lettuce will do fine, but you will get wilting.
Yes.
Depending on the season, all that kind of. So it's it's not just hydroponics itself. It's just the basics of the plant.
It's the basics of gardening. I mean, you would
yeah.
have that kind of issue with gardening anyway. If you planted very close to a wall and there's a lot of a heat radiating from the wall, then you have that same issue. But you also mentioned circulating. So in some of these systems, you use a pump to keep the water circulating, right?
Yeah. That's my table's got that.
And does it circulate all day?
All day, yeah. You'd want it to circulate. You could leave it going throughout the night, but photosynthesis doesn't happen at night, so it's a waste of electricity, if you want to call it that.
It's a waste of money.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Your pumps are so small they don't use much, but for longevity of the pump, for example, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you would have it circulating. I suppose also that prevents nutrients from settling in certain areas and not going to others, and for providing oxygen as well in the water as you circulate.
As it aerates, depending on how the system's set up, definitely you've got that aeration aspect as well.
Yeah. So you wouldn't be doing, adding nutrients like eggshells and things.
No.
You wouldn't need to do any of that. It was just
no.
Okay.
No, that actually reminds me, your companion planting in the soil is not nearly as critical in hydroponics as well, because your soil, you've got plants that that add nutrients or take nutrients, like beans, I think is heavy on nitrogen. So I made a list. I can't remember what it was because I was still planting in the ground, but now I just put anything and everything. I'll just put it in and I don't worry about it. I mean, someone's going to say to you, why hydroponics? For me, I switch the table on in the morning and I carry on with my day. I don't think about it. Just make sure you got water in there, obviously, so it doesn't run dry. So it like fits in with, if you think about it,
it fits in with a really good lazy lifestyle.
Absolutely, yeah. But with that is now you've got your whatever's in the ground.
Yes.
I haven't measured it, but I've looked at the amount of water that it takes to keep the plants in the ground going, and in a much smaller space, for example, than my I think it's 2 square meter table.
Okay.
So for example, I've got a 100-liter drum that I fill up every 3rd week. Depending on the weather, you've got evaporation. So that's one of the questions you asked me as well, was how often do you add nutrients and top it up? So just for my system, specifically the table, whenever your water reservoir is dry, where you need to top up water. Obviously, if you don't add nutrients, it'll dilute the thing. Your plants will not die. I've had plants go for at least a month without adding nutrients. They look fine. the growth is definitely stunted. You then do start seeing yellowing leaves because there's lack of nutrients.
And is it easy to clean the system? Because you talk about yellowing leaves, they might fall out. You've got algae,
Depending on what system, but again, it comes down to basic garden maintenance, weeding.
Yeah.
Which actually on your hydroponics is one thing that you don't really have an issue with.
I think a lot of people, you speak about hydroponics and you think, gosh, okay, if you don't have the space, you don't have soil, okay, then yes, you could plant vertically as long as you have kind of a relatively warm area and the sunshine is there. So it does open itself up to your smaller spaces, maybe even growing. You could grow on a patio if there's a sunny patio, but, not to break down the actual costs, but that is a factor for a lot of people. Say hydroponics is expensive to get into. Is it expensive to get into, or is it just the initial setup and how, like nutrients, we make a lot of compost as gardeners that grow in soil.
Yeah. Okay, let's break it down. For example, and I can only speak for my nutrients. I don't know what else they go for. So this set specifically is 120 Rand. For the set, and it lasts, especially if you're using a coffee jar. So I mean, let's do the exercise. A tray of seedlings, let's say, is 30 Rand.
Yes.
A coffee jar is whatever the coffee costs once you've finished having
it's recycling. Yeah, it's recycling.
And there we go. You've got the recycling aspect. Yes. You can use anything. You can use a margarine tub if you really want to.
Okay.
And nutrients, plants, and whatever the container is. There we go.
So you could literally
under 500 Rand.
So you could literally just get, if you've got all these leftover jars and tubs and things that you're wanting to recycle, and you could use food grade plastic if it's food grade, but of course you don't want chemicals, so food grade only,
or glass.
Or glass. And so you would need your water, you need to get some nutrients, you'd need a pot to keep the plant in.
You'd need some form of supporting it. So what you could do, let's use the ice cream container as an example. Yes. You cut a hole in the top. You find yourself like a pool noodle or a piece of foam.
Yes.
And you just cut a slit or a hole in it to support the stem, and you put it on top.
And there you get.
And then the roots, and growing. Just again make sure that the roots are in the water. But it's as simple. I think as with many things in life, it's as simple or as complicated as you want it to be.
Yeah. So, it's interesting you're talking about this, and suddenly in my brain, I am thinking, some people will throw out old bathtubs and they look so pretty in the garden if you've got a big garden and you like the country style gardening. So you've got this big bathtub, you've got the water in, you'd need to put a pump in there because that would be bigger.
No, what I would do with a bath is you get a sheet of polystyrene foam. Like you get those big seedling germination seedling styrene foams.
Yes, little squares.
Things. Yeah. So you get the sheet. So you cut the sheet to fit the bath, to fit in the bath. You fill it up, and there's your thing. You make holes for the plants, and that's it.
And that's all you need to
do. That's what I say. It's a simple.
Yeah.
So it's as simple
if you had larger containers, you could do that. If
yeah.
you've got jars, you can do that.
Yeah.
All you need is the water. The medium is not soil. That is absolutely fascinating. That's really, really interesting. So now,
you could grow it in if you really wanted to. Cut the top off.
Just a normal
even in here, you get a water bottle. You can cut a hole in here. You can put a plant. I'll do that. I'm going to take this home and we'll make a plan. I'll grow a plant in here for you.
Okay. That's great. And we'll have a look at the plant in a bottle of water. That is awesome. So if you think, isn't nature amazing, folks? If you think about it, we can grow outdoors, unless you've got monkeys. Then you need to watch out for the monkeys. Asfat.
Yeah.
But seriously, Asfat, it is an issue for a lot of the gardeners, Somebody has sent a message in here regarding the question. Here's a lovely answer actually by Keith Tozer. Keith has sent us a message and he says, regarding the question as to whether fruit trees can be grown hydroponically, the answer is yes. In the Middle East, listen to this, in the Middle East, in places like UAE, trees are planted directly into the desert sand and drip fed a nutrient solution to the root system?
That's one of them that I forgot. And hi, Keith. That's actually the previous owner of Flowgrow.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, so actually, drip system is one of them that I forgot as well.
Look, a drip system is something that we use, but of course, it's important with the desert sand because that's nutrient empty.
That's nutrient-free medium.
It's nutrient-free medium. It's different to talking about a drip system of irrigation in soil, because then you're not growing hydroponically. You are growing in soil. You just have an irrigation system that's a drip system. And for vegetables, for those of us growing vegetables in the soil, a drip system is wonderful because you're avoiding having water on the leaves. You mentioned earlier growing hydroponically by spraying the leaves. Now, if you have a nutrient spray on the leaves, if that I remember,
you don't want to spray on
because
the
then
leaves,
you're going to get mold and things.
You run into those issues. To add on to the drip system, yes, that is a normal soil thing, but again, if it's a nutrient-free medium, it then becomes hydroponics. If you think about it in that aspect, I mean, if, for example, pots, if you set up the strawberries with a drip system, it's still hydroponics because it's a nutrient-free medium.
Okay,
that's where that comes in. But to spray the leaf, you shouldn't really be spraying the leaves, not with nutrients anyway. I actually had a customer that asked me about that, and I said he used it for the grass, for his grass to grow. But I said if you're trying to supplement, then you've got a problem with your soil.
I thought you'd said earlier on, then maybe I heard you wrong, that this whole misting, there's a system.
Oh, that was the aeroponics.
Aeroponics,
yeah.
Yes.
So that's spraying the roots. That's spraying the root system. So for example, if you take let's take the example of the bath with the styrofoam. So because now obviously you limited with what you can grow, for example, in terms of, because you require space for your potatoes and carrots and whatever else grows on the ground. What they do is then the same support system where the base of the plant, or the roots, the stem, should I say, the leaves will grow above ground as per normal. Underneath the roots, and you can do normal plants like that. The roots, you take your misters, like at a cafe, they've got the misters. Those you take that and you put it inside the container. So you're spraying it, so that the roots get the
it's almost
water.
like a drip system, but it's mist.
But spraying, you're spraying, you basically spraying the roots with it. So I mean, effectively, it's an automated hand sprayer. Let's call it that. Yeah.
You know what? I think I'm going to be introducing a little bit of hydroponics growing somewhere, somehow in my garden, and I'm going to give this a try because this sounds like a super cool idea. The moment you said to me, you can use a coffee jar, I was thinking, gosh, how much stuff can we recycle? And we do recycle a lot in our gardens, but to be able to then, you don't need to grow, for the listener at home, you don't really need to grow purely hydroponics or purely in the garden. Why not mix it up a little bit and have a little bit of both and kind of let us know how it goes? So another message that came in here, I have a fish tank with fish inside. Could this tank have indoor plants with a hydroponic system? You mentioned something with fish.
Yeah, that's your aquaponics. Yeah,
that's your aquaponics, not your hydroponics.
I'm not too sure on that. I have seen people use that, but I haven't researched that.
Okay.
I would, if you want to try and do aquaponics, I'd advise doing it indoors like that, because I've had a fish tank and I won't do again. It's just a mess.
And if you're growing indoors in a fish tank, then yes, you do need the lights as well.
Of course, yeah. So talking about investment, that's like the other spectrum, because I mean, just if you got a proper setup of lights, good couple of grand. That's like,
Otherwise, if you could use the empty fish tank once your fish are no longer, then you could take that fish tank outside, the same as you would with a bathtub. Now, ideally, you mentioned earlier on that algae grows where there's light, so you could actually just either paint or cover that fish pond.
I was going to say that, because it's obviously open to light, and depending on the heat, you would definitely need to do that unless you want to.
So for the listener who messaged that in, I've got an idea for you. Why not use that fish tank once it's empty of fish, and what you can do is paint it on the outside with a glow-in-the-dark paint. I've seen those.
Finding Nemo.
And then you've got a pot that you can find in the dark, and it works as like lighting in your garden, and you're growing hydroponically, and you can be the pride of the entire village at the moment. So that is absolutely awesome. Can you believe our time is done? We are 5 minutes to go for 10 o'clock, and Sister Salma KW will be coming in. Sister Salma Kazi Wahab will be coming in with her Nasheed show, so don't go away. If you are not going to the Nasheed and Naats program today, then where in the world are you, and why are you not going to the show? Ding, 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 ding. You must go. It's going to be lots of fun. Fun. It is going to be fun. It's going to be wonderful. For all the sisters, the are they nannies or daddies? I think nannies. So sisters, the aunties, the cousins, everybody, get everybody out there to 189 West Road. You can get some tickets at the door. I hope they still have tickets. So yeah, go and have a listen, go and have a wonderful time together. And we've got Sister Fatima Effendi, we have not forgotten. She's messaging us, please WhatsApp the strawberry picture, WhatsApp the strawberry. We shall do that for you, not to worry at all. And the picture will be here in studio for those of you who actually want to see the size of these strawberry leaves. I must thank you, Harry, for making the time to come out. We do need to do a follow-up show. We want to go out and have a look at your setup and post some videos, because this is something that is, I don't know if it's relatively new. Would you say it's relatively new? Do you think it's growing?
I don't think it's new. I think it's just a case of awareness. I'm quite surprised when I meet new people and I say, this is what I do.
Yes.
And they look at me funny, like, well, what is hydroponics? And I was like, how do you not know about it?
Is it skydiving?
Yeah, exactly. But that being said, I guess it also depends on the type of person that you speak to, like, are they into gardening and those kind of things. So it depends on where. So I think there is more awareness around it, especially since 4 years ago
with the COVID
food shortage. And it's I don't see a need for it to be safeguarded or hidden or
gate
kept.
So Harry, before we go, I know that a lot of our listeners may have questions, may want to know where to start, and not a lot of nurseries have the information on hand, which is why we asked Harry to come through. How can they reach you specifically?
So
your website address, email address?
So flowgrow.co.za is the website. On there you'll find my email address. I've got a horticultural specialist that I work, or consultant that I work with as well.
Wonderful.
So he he's been in the industry probably longer than I've been alive, and I've got contacts in the field. So fire through the emails. I've got social media as well, on Facebook, Flowgrow, I think it's called. Sorry, my social media game is not the best. So though I think that would be easier, but I'll give you my details. You can post it up as well if it's missed along the way. And
perfect.
Get in touch, ask the questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Absolutely.
Rather put in the time and effort to get to know it, and you'll be amazed at what comes from it.
How quickly you learn. We've got messages actually coming in. Thank you, Harry. Thanks, Harry, for the advice. Thank you, Harry. So thank you, Harry, for being on the show with us this morning. We are done for this week. From myself, it's a very quick goodbye. Don't forget, today is a beautiful day to be happy. From myself, Brother Asfath Feely, the entire team at Radio Al Ansar, will see you next week. From now till then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Boom, 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 boom. The little boy went first day at school. He got some crayons and he started to draw. He put colors all over the paper. Colors